Hey there friends, welcome to our little homestead, and in this week's video we'll be cooking from scratch and we'll also be making a little batch of soap. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let's get into the video. Good girls. Hi honey. Hi ma'am. Hi Carmen. The weather here has been really crazy. It's gotten to below zero. It's been snowing. As you can see, my little goaty girls have already gotten their winter coats. They're fluffy with a little extra fluff underneath. And the chickens, they're actually molting. My little chickens that I had gotten in this past summer, they're already starting to molt. I think we got one egg from them, but I'm not sure. But I'm not getting very many eggs right now. If that's okay, we water glassed a whole bunch of eggs, so at least we're set on that. And today we're gonna just take down a little hornet's nest because I don't want them coming back next year. So these hornets won't necessarily use the same nest, but they will see that nest and probably make a new one. So I'm just going to take this inside and use it for a decoration. I wanted to try to make some crackers with my homemade cheese that I have in my cheese cave, and I have the perfect block of cheese for it. So I'm going to be using my cheddar cheese with my red chili flakes. And I got the recipe out of this book, Half Baked Harvest by Tegan Gerard, and it is called Cheddar Ranch Snack Crackers. So for the spices, I'm using dried parsley, chives, dried dill, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and then that's 2 tablespoons of each, and I mixed it all up. And right here I had shredded my cheese already, so I'm going to be adding 3 cups of that. And for the flour, it calls for wheat flour, so I'm just going to be using this stuff that I got at the store. It's the King Arthur brand. I love that brand. And I'm adding 1 cup of that, 2 tablespoons of cold water, and then I'll be adding 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And then for the spices, you mix that all up, and then you just reserve half for the mix and then half for sprinkling on top. So I got my oven preheated at 350 degrees, and then we're gonna get rolling these out the best you can. I try to make it an 1/8 inch thick, but if you can't get it that thin, it's okay. It just take a little bit longer to cook them, and we'll cook them for 15 minutes. And before I pop them in the oven, I do poke them with a little, you can use a toothpick. I'm using a chopstick, but I like to cut these into little square pieces and then poke a hole in the middle so they don't puff up. So what made me make the homemade crackers was I wanted to use my cheese. And the other thing is that, have you seen the prices on things lately? We like the Ritz crackers with all the flavor on them. I like the habanero, and then we like the ranch flavor. But the prices of them for $4 a bag is just a little bit crazy for me. And when you pop open a bag of crackers or chips, it's mostly just air in the bag. It's literally 80% air and 20% chips or crackers. So that's not very nice. All right, these just came out of the oven, and I'm gonna sprinkle some of the spices that I had reserved at the beginning. Just to your preferred taste, you can sprinkle a little or a lot, it's all up to you. These were so delicious. I want to try to bread some chicken with them at some point, and then we'll just be having them for snacks and with cheese and whatnot, and even on top of soup. I love making homemade comfort food. So this week I wanted to share with you a few dinners. So I have some cabbage and pork chops here. I just took out some cabbage out of my freezer that I got at the Amish food auction. And I got that browning up with some beef fat. I also have a few pork chops here, and I love my cast iron pans. They make everything taste so delicious, like they just came off the grill. So we're just gonna plate that up, and we're gonna fill our bellies with this comfort food. There's actually a few meals that I wanted to make with the cabbage that I had stored in the freezer. I want to make some cabbage rolls. I'll probably put it in a few different soup recipes and maybe some egg rolls.
So beautiful.
So this is one of the spaghetti squash that I grew in my garden. It's actually one of the biggest ones I've ever grew because I tried last year and they were super small. But this year they seem to like the bed that I put them in. So I was super excited to get a few of these. So all I did was hollow out the middle, and I'm gonna roast some seeds. I make sure that every time I cut open a pumpkin or something, I roast the seeds. I don't want to waste that. Then I'm gonna get some of this sauce into my pan and splash it everywhere pretty much. You're not cooking good food unless you're making a mess. So I got some onions and garlic sauteed, and I got about a pound of meat in there. And then I'm gonna let this cook for at least 3 hours and simmer on low. And it's looking pretty good. I think that's the perfect consistency that I want to put on my spaghetti squash. And once it hits around 2 to 3 hours, the meat is super tender. And you can't really have a spaghetti meal without any bread or butter. So I made a couple loaves of bread. We'll be eating that for the week. And I'm just making sure it's done in the middle. It's around 200 degrees, so that is perfect. And I'm gonna let them cool, pop one in the freezer, and then we're gonna enjoy a piece of bread and butter with our meal. It looks like the spaghetti squash is done. I had to flip it a few times because seemed like it was taking forever to cook. But all I gotta do is keep checking it. And I had it on 350. I turned it up to 375 for a little bit just to get it nice and brown. But I think it is done, so it is ready to serve. And this is what dinner looked like on this night. I know there's a lot of people that aren't spaghetti squash fans, but this was definitely the bee's knees. This week I made a batch of spruce tip soap. So I had some spruce tip infused oil that I needed to use up, and I decided to make some soap with it. So for this recipe, you're going to need some caustic soda, which is lye. And then you'll need coconut oil, or you can use beef fat or pig fat. I've actually heard people say they used hamburger fat. I wouldn't really advise that because it'd probably be kind of stinky like meat. So that is my spruce tip infused oil. I've been infusing that since January of last year. So I think it's ready. I didn't want it to go rancid, so I'm making some soap with it. So right here, I'm just measuring out 20 ounces of the infused oil, and I had 20 ounces of my coconut oil. And right here, I have 6 ounces of lye and 17 ounces of water, and I'm pouring the powder into the water. For safety reasons, I would not do it the other way around. And I should be using goggles and gloves. That is bad of me. And you want to be in a well-ventilated area. You don't want to inhale that. It will definitely choke you out. So once that is all melted, all the little white crystals of lye are melted in with the water and it's cooled a little bit, you're going to want to add both of the oils. So I'm going to be adding my infused oil and my melted coconut oil together, and then that goes into the lye, and then I'm going to zip it up with my stick blender for about 5 to 10 minutes. And once that starts to get a little trace, as you would as if it was pudding, I left mine a little loose this time and I just poured it in, and it's probably going to take a little bit extra to set before I cut it. So that will probably be in the next video, so I apologize. So I'm going to pour these into both the molds because I doubled the batch. And we're going to let this sit, and hopefully by next video I'll be able to show you the cut. And after you cut it, you're going to want to let it cure for at least 4 weeks. And then you'll have your beautiful homemade soap. You guys, let me pour the rest in. There you go. We make a lot of chicken here on the homestead because it's one of the reasonably priced meats at the store. And I have a whole bunch of barbecue sauce that I needed to use up. So here I have some plum barbecue sauce that I made this year, and I got the plums from the Amish down the road. I'm spicing up the chicken with the Kinder seasoning, the honey brown sugar flavor, and just to add a little bit more flavor. And then I'm gonna pour and smother all this chicken with my homemade barbecue sauce. I got my oven preheated at 350, and we're just gonna get that in the oven and cook it for about a good 40 minutes and check it, and it should be at least 160 degrees. I go for about 200 degrees Fahrenheit for the internal temperature of your chicken. We're having fried potatoes with it with the very same seasoning. And the hubs also requested a little bit of broccoli, so I popped that out of the freezer and microwaved it. And this is what dinner looked like on that night. And the chicken was amazing. So for dessert, the hubs requested some chocolate chip cookies, and he also had the best idea to add some caramel bites in it. So I just got those at Walmart, and I just used the rest of them up. I used a half a cup of chocolate chips and a little over a half a cup of caramel bites. You can definitely make this cookie your own. You can add any flavor of candy. You can add M&Ms or butterscotch chips. Just make it your own and they will turn out amazing. This is what the cookies look like. They were so delicious. I put most of the batter back in the freezer so I can take it out for a later time. But this would be perfect with a cup of hot cocoa, a glass of milk, or even some tea or coffee, especially by the fire on a chilly day like today. Hi, honey. Good girl. And that's it, friends. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Many blessings. And I'll see you on the next one.